Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Yaya. I never say that. I never say who I am. I'm Yaya. So, welcome back to my channel. If you're one of the 12 people who watch my videos and one of the 6 people who are subscribed, thank you. And if you're new to this channel, I'm just doing a Reddit reaction. I find posts on Reddit, I say what I think, I read what other people think, and hopefully it helps us live better lives. I guess that's what I do. That's what I do here. So let's read this post. I already have one picked out. Normally, well, in my previous videos, what I would do is scroll and scroll until I found something. Very time consuming, not really helpful for people who I think are reading these thumbnails and thinking like, oh, I want to see what that is, and then clicking into it and seeing me scroll for 2 minutes or just talk about random stuff. That's not the topic of the video. So I'm just going right into it today. And the topic is student loans. If I had an editor, I would have them edit stuff in, but I don't. So very low budget here. Student loans. I will start. Okay, well, let's read the post. So this person says, and we're in Life Pro Tips, that's the subreddit that I go into. The awful truth is that there's basically no way to pay them off without paying above the minimum. But you have to trick yourself into doing it because throwing a chunk of money at a loan is even less satisfying than car repairs. Car repairs are kind of, yeah, they're not. I know that money stuff is really sensitive for people. I understand that everyone's financial situation and loans are different, and I can't account for the variables and challenges you may have. I won't tell you to throw your tax refunds, bonuses, birthday money, or other found money towards them. I won't tell you to change your lifestyle or spending habits in any way. The secret rely the secret lies in biweekly payments. Set up an auto bill pay with your bank that pays half the monthly payments plus $25 every 2 weeks on payday. This will lessen the sting and surprise of each payment. You'll sneak in an extra payment plus 650 every year without noticing. As you pay off the principal, each payment will count a little bit more. Please don't reply to tell me that why this won't work for you because I'm not saying it necessarily will. I'm saying it worked for me. But if you can do it, you'll knock off about 25K in 5 years. Okay, so I graduated college with student loans like everyone else, although I shouldn't have had student loans, and I will tell you why. I went to a commuter school. I went to University of Michigan, but in Dearborn, and I actually lived at home for the first few years, and then I moved out. Anyway, I had a full ride scholarship to U of M Dearborn, so I guess I'm just listing my privileges. But I'm just saying this to say that I had all of my tuition paid for. And since my mother has a mental illness, I guess I'll just be candid. So I was actually able to also get a significant amount of financial aid to help me as well. And being a freshly out of high school teenager into a 20-year-old, I was not responsible with money. I had no concept of, you know, don't put stuff on credit. I knew you were not supposed to put stuff on credit cards, but I had no concept of why or like what would happen. Like I knew you just racked up debt, but it felt nebulous to me. Like I didn't really understand it. I didn't have a really deep understanding and a deep grasp of my finances and why I should do things now in life so that later in life I wouldn't be paying for it. So anyway, come like the second or third year, I decided I want to move out. It was my second year because my sister and I moved out together. But I decided I wanted to move out and I was like, I'll just take out a student loan to help pay for the apartment. And I did that. And, I racked up $15,000 in debt. Yeah, but I wasn't really taking the debt seriously. And, when we talk to other people as you're about to graduate, you're thinking like, oh, how can I get my loans deferred? Like that was the thing, not like, oh, are you gonna start paying your loans back? It was like, no, I'm gonna try to get the loan deferred and do all this other stuff. But what you don't realize is when you get the loan deferred, the interest still racks up. Like they're still charging you interest. So that 15 that I had, it racked up even more debt. I don't know how much it got to because occasionally I do, I've paid it all off, but occasionally I do check to see like I don't know, like I think they're gonna pop up with some extra payment, and it's been years now, but sometimes I log in just to feel good or to be like, okay, let me just make sure I actually did it. And I did. When I moved to California, that kind of like kicked off all my finances because it's so expensive to live here. Like I just needed to be able to make it and survive. And I was like, okay, I've been paying $150, which was like the bare minimum that I could pay on them. And then I started doing more research and understanding more about my financial situation and what was going on. By then, I had also racked up $10,000 in credit card debt, maybe more. And I was like, I have to get out of, I was drowning, so I had to get out of it. I will say candidly that the thing that helped me was getting a better job, a higher paying job, because then I was able to have this income to like throw at my debt. So once I realized that I needed to be paying more than the minimum, like it was getting me nowhere. And if you get a loan, they all have helpful calculators to tell you how long it's going to take you to pay them off. And I was looking and I was like, there's no way that I'm going to be paying on this $150 for 10 years or whatever it was. And I had 6 or 7 smaller loans, like rolled of student loans rolled up into that larger loan. So what I did was I found the one with the highest interest rate. And that is the one that which also consequently I think was the largest loan. I paid all of the loans, the minimum payment on them, but that one loan, I paid $250 over what the minimum was every month. So I was just throwing money to that one loan until I was able to finally pay that one down. And then I started on the one with the next highest interest rate. This is called the avalanche method. So basically, you take your loans with the highest interest rate, which are the ones that are costing you the most money, and you pay those down as aggressively as possible, and then you take that payment and then you roll it into the next highest interest loan. So what you're doing is putting a lot of money and you're trying to get rid of the debt that's costing you the most. And then I took all of that, even the minimum payment that I was paying on that loan, and started putting it to the next one. So now I'm making more progress with the loan. I also did this with credit cards. It's a little harder to do because I had like a few different credit cards, and the minimum payments were different. They all had different balances. I have a course that kind of goes over my strategy for all of this. I'll link that below. But it basically just walks you through how to start a budget, like pretty much everything that I did to get out of debt, starting a budget, and then starting to strategically tackle your debt. It also goes into the things that I do personally to manage my income. For me, it's very stressful to think about money and finances and things like that. So I'll link that below. But let's see what other people have to say. I guess I think this person is right. The student loans, it's like, yes, you have to be doing something towards it. Let's see what other people have to say about this, if there's any gems in the comments. Yeah, and the first comment is during the pause, I allocated my payments to a high yield savings account. They said HYSA, which is a high yield savings account, and paid a lump sum before interest kicked in. That's a great strategy too. I'm guessing the thought process behind doing this was if you put all your payments in a high yield savings account, they pile up, then you're also getting interest on those payments and then you pay a lump sum at the end. So that's a smart strategy. Pay the minimum. So this person is saying this is a real life pro tip. Pay the minimum, then put anything extra in a high yield savings account. This person is saying student loan companies are notorious for misallocating funds, not keeping records. I don't trust them at all personally. That wasn't my experience. Mine was through the my Fed loan or something. Okay, and then they said the second thing is that you'll have money in case you need it. Anything extra you pay to your student loan company is gone. If you have low interest, you are making more on the savings than the interest is on the loan. Is that right? I don't know. Our student loans haven't been keeping up with the times lately. This will vary depending on the terms of the loan. I highly recommend that you get a printed copy of your loan terms so you can plan repayment that will leave you drowning in debt later. In some regions, these loans can be paid in full on minimum payments because the minimum is required to cover more than the interest. That's nice. I never know how to respond to posts like this because this is about being a given that student loans are impossible to get out from under and will grow forever. At least with federal loans, they tell you the amount you need to pay them off. That's true, but it still doesn't change that they're like the interest. And I think that's what I think people who are educated about it don't understand how uneducated people are. Like the very simple things, at least for me, the very simple things, like the concepts, were never explained to me. I went to Detroit Public High School, one of the better Detroit Public High schools. And even if I did take a class, maybe I just don't it just didn't stick with me. So I graduated, I got these loans. Like it was like I knew it, but it didn't feel like it mattered. It didn't feel real at that point. It was like I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it later. Like the future me will have to deal with this, not the me right now. And I think that people who are, in it or knowledgeable like me coming out on the other side of it, I don't take for granted that that was something that I didn't know how to do. And for other people, that there are other people out there that feel that way as well, or they aren't thinking about it, or maybe they are thinking about it but they don't know what to do because it's so convoluted and people are giving information that needs to be layered on other information without just giving them the bare minimum, like the simple, like what do I need to do? That's not lost on me. To make it simple, do you want to get out of debt? Yes. Do you want to get out of debt faster? Yes. And it's like, okay, well, how much can you set aside to try to get yourself out of debt? How can you prioritize that? It's really thinking about the reasons, or the reasons that you want to be out of debt. What is your motivation for doing this? And then with that motivation in mind, prioritize it. How much can you put towards it? And if you don't have the money to put towards it, do what you can. There are other ways to, like, before I got my higher paying job, I was trying to supplement my income. This person here suggested like using your tax refunds. You have to make trade offs. There's trade offs for it. I think sometimes that over complicating things, in my opinion, would make me and maybe some others who are like me just be like, I don't want to deal with it at all. I'm just going to pay the minimum. And it's very easy to sweep it under the rug. I was trying to think through the different posts. So, Life Pro Tips has two types of posts. There's people who post what they think is a life pro tip, and then there's people who request for people in the comments to give them life pro tips. Those feel a bit more productive because I think when people post what they think is a life pro tip, and I do this too, people will say one thing and I'll just immediately be like, let's debate the opposite. Like little SpongeBob's in my brain are like, but. So these comments don't feel necessarily helpful to me. If you were paying the minimum payment, you would 100% pay it off eventually. Well, duh. The point is, you don't want to pay more money. The interest is the issue. Remember when I was thinking about it, I was like, I'll have more money to travel and do more dance things. And that in my mind was a motivator for me to be like, okay, if I just suck it up for however long it took me, afterwards, like, I was just like, think of all this cash I have free. And now I do. The ultimate cheat code is living at home with your parents and then paying as much per month towards the loans as you can. But living at home with your parents may not be much fun. Whew, Lord. I don't know. I think these people are missing the point. Nobody wants loans. For me, it was like, oh, it's not like I make these payments, eventually I will pay it off. It was like, I need to pay this off as fast as possible. And I think some people are missing that because this person is like, explain how making the scheduled payment will not pay it off. That's not the point. It's not the point. The point is that there's some people who just don't want loans. And I was one of them. I'm pretty sure you could just pay $5 every month without the loans being delinquent and just die with the loans. This is the other option, I guess. No different to any other loan in that respect. The minimum payment is the minimum you need to pay. Absolute rock bottom. Can't pay less. Must pay this amount. Minimum. The absolute smallest necessary amount you must pay legally. You must legally pay even if everything goes wrong. If you only pay the minimum on everything, you'll be in debt twice as long as you could be. People are just lazy and let the companies, organizations involved only take the minimum. The companies aren't going to argue. More interest for them. For you, paying only the minimum term is the dumbest idea you can imagine. Imagine eating only the minimum amount you need to eat, or breathing only the minimum. This is why. This is why I read Reddit for these posts right here. This is gold. Or breathing only the amount of oxygen you require. That's what you're doing, and you're starving, choking your finances by paying only the minimum, they say. When they say, and nothing else. I can't read all of this. It's really long. I'm going to read this in my head to see if there's anything I should say out loud. That's not the last comment. It's the last comment on the page. There's more. I will link this in the comments, and I also will link the course that I have. It will help you build a financial foundation, starting a budget, getting a strategy towards paying off loans, credit cards, things like that, etc. And then also my personal strategy for, how I deal with my mental blocks and my barriers when it comes to handling my finances. So if you're interested in that, I will also link it below. I have a code that runs to the end of October. So you can take it for free. If you could just leave a review, that would be great. Also, if you could leave a comment on this video, that would also be great. I mean, I think everything that needs to be said has been said, but if you have anything else that would be of interest to say, that would be cool to hear. And also, if you could like this video, subscribe, maybe share it amongst other people you know. And I will see you in the next one. So bye. Oh shit, was I recording? Yes.